Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Hari. I'm doing a quick mic check here. I hope you all can hear me and you can also see my screen. If any of you are having any trouble in terms of any audio issues, or if you're not able to see my screen, please do drop in a message through the chat window or through the questions window so that our team can look into it. We're just waiting for a few more folks who are having trouble to join in. We're just going to give them a couple of minutes and then we'll get started on this. Just doing an audio check again. I hope you can hear me. If you're not able to hear me, or if I'm not audible enough, please do drop in a message. Thank you. Hello and good evening once again. My name is Hari. I am the admissions director at Great Lakes for the postgraduate program in machine learning. First of all, thank you so much for joining me on a Tuesday evening, on a workday evening. I think that talks a lot about your commitment towards learning and the interest you have in this exciting new field and this exciting emerging area of machine learning. Uh, Given that we get so many requests every day regarding careers in machine learning and what should one be learning in machine learning, we thought that let's do this webinar wherein we can shed some more light in terms of what's happening in the industry and what does one really need to know to build a career in machine learning. So broadly, the next 60 minutes are split into two broad halves. The first half is all about why machine learning, right? Why is there so much demand? What are the industry trends? And also kind of demystifying machine learning. It's such a heavy term that's being used nowadays, but what does it really mean? And what could it mean for you? So what kind of skill set should you build if you're serious about latching on to this trend? And the next part would be about our program in machine learning, which is considered as one of the best programs in the country today. Doing a detailed walkthrough of the curriculum, what do we teach, how do we teach, what can you expect from the program, and then of course we'll open up the floor for questions. As we go along the presentation, as and when you have questions, please feel free to type into the questions tab. And at the end of the webinar, I would make it a point that I go through these questions and try and answer all of them, if not most. All right. So on that note, let's get started. So the first question is, why is there so much buzz around machine learning? And why is it being said that the future is all about machine learning? If you look at, some stats that are being put around, NASSCOM itself predicts that machine learning and data science sector in India is likely to witness an eightfold growth from 2 billion in 2017 to, or 2017 to about $16 billion in 2025. So the industry in India itself is likely to grow by $8 billion. Uh, McKinsey predicts that India is likely to become one of the top two markets for machine learning by 2020, superseded only by US. And you can actually look at the recent trends and recent quotes by leaders from technology companies, and you will see that all of them are pointing towards the emergence of machine learning and why machine learning and AI, these two are skill sets that are extremely critical in the days to come. So if you are in a technical career or in a technical line of career right now, and if you are at a crossroad wherein you either feel that your growth is likely to slow down or has already stagnated, or you're also feeling insecure because of the changes around you, then there can be no better time than now to essentially equip and upskill yourself in a trend that is future forward and in a trend that is generating thousands of jobs every month. In fact, tens of thousands of jobs every year in India, right? And that skill set is machine learning. And that's why machine learning is becoming so important, because more and more businesses, more and more companies, more and more product services, tech companies are actually now embracing machine learning and are looking for talent in machine learning, which is the reason why there's so much interest both in the candidate level who want to learn, and also at the industry level who want to hire people with machine learning degrees and machine learning competencies. An interesting, survey point that also came across is that if we look at data scientists and machine learning engineers, then more than half of them actually have a postgraduate degree. And that again points to a fact that, this is a skill set that needs hard work and persistence to acquire, right? So don't be superficial. So if you are serious about learning machine learning, if you're serious about exploring opportunities in this field, then you're going to do yourself a huge disservice by being superficial, right? So select a program that's rigorous, select a program that gives you the credentials of a master's level program, select the program that's respected by the industry as being a master's level program, and go deep, because that is the skill set and that is the competence that the industry will demand. All right, so what's the fuss really about? And before I go any further, I wanted to show this interesting infographic to all of you. I'm sure many of you could have seen this before. There's a very famous infographic. It's published every year. In fact, 2018 was published just about a few days back. This is what happens in an internet minute in the world we live in, right? So in 2017, just looking at some of these marquee names. So in 2017, in 60 seconds, in 1 minute, there were 3.5 million search queries on Google. There were about 900,000 logins at Facebook. Cumulatively, 70,000 hours of Netflix videos were watched. Um, 450,000, 450,000 tweets were sent. 4.1 million videos were viewed. Right, and I've just picked out some of these data points, and of course, these are put together with marquee names so that all of us can relate to them. But that doesn't mean that this is the only scale of data consumption. So you can see the world that we are living in, right? Every year, data generation and data consumption and data distribution is actually increasing exponentially. Now, if these products have to, and the other counterpoint here is also that data for everybody is an asset today, right? So all these businesses that are listed here, plus businesses in general, are looking at data as an asset. So every data point that gets mined is extremely important for them, because they are trying to put together patterns, identify what's the story behind the scenes, predict the future. Everything, all of those decisions are being made on the basis of data that is being captured. Now, if we bring back the discussion to these products, to these businesses, then we realize the scale of challenge that we face, right? So if Google is having 3.5 million search queries every second, you can imagine the kind of large-scale tech infrastructure that needs to be there to even be equipped to analyze this kind of data. And secondly, you have to build systems and algorithms in such a way that these get smarter with time, right? That these are able to predict, given how you train them or given the inputs, right? So that these also get better with time, so that you reduce human dependence on the first level of analysis, and that in a crux is what machine learning is. And what's really giving an impetus to careers in machine learning globally and in India can be understood by this infographic, which is from Deloitte. And Deloitte clearly predicts that the application of machine learning is going to intensify by several folds in 2018, driven largely by large and medium-sized enterprises. And you can see that number, right? It's saying that in 2018, the number of machine learning implementations are likely to be double of that happened in 2017. And similarly, by 2020, it's likely to be double of what is happening in 2018. So you can see that the industry is almost doubling, every 1 to 2 years, and that is a fantastic space to be in if you think selfishly about your own career. Another very telling data point is the spending forecast. Like, what are businesses spending today to transition to machine learning? So in 2017, that spend globally was about $12 billion, and by 2021, that's likely to be $57.6 billion, right? So almost 5x in 4 years, right? That is the rate of growth that everybody is expecting machine learning to drive in the businesses around us. And if there are any challenges, it is not on the spending or the intent part. It is not on the fact that companies want to go, all in when it comes to application and implementation of machine learning. If there's anything that's holding back, right, the biggest challenge that companies are facing today are, practitioners of machine learning. Is talent, is specialized talent, and you can see that's the first point there, in terms of what has held machine learning back. Right, there are just too few people right now who are well trained and well skilled in machine learning, and that is the opportunity that you have. So uh, you know uh, if you are interested in this field, and if you come from a technical background, then this is probably the best time to get into it, right? Any 6 months delay, 1 year delay, you're just going to lose some advantage and lose some ground, right? Because this is a place where the demand for talent is far more than the supply for talent. There are, of course, other challenges, such as data cost and computing powers, but these are all things that actually scale up very, very rapidly, right? So computing challenges, or data cost, or data acquisition could actually be solved, or make it solved in as less as the 8 to 12 months time frame. But it is the talent gap that holds companies back the most. And from our own, understanding of the industry in India and the way our alumni have performed, what we have seen is that, machine learning jobs right now are easily paying about 50% higher in terms of salaries than your traditional IT careers, right? So the same, if you compare apple to apples, the same professional who was probably earlier working in an IT services role, if he or she transitions to machine learning, from our own alumni data set, we see similar kind of salary hikes. As per the job demand today, there is a shortfall of about 100,000 machine learning engineers and data scientists in India by the end of 2018. And there's no way that, this demand is going to get met, right? But what is more important is that if you can present yourself as a worthy candidate, right, then there is a lot of opportunity here, right? So it is all about being trained, being skilled in machine learning, and being able to showcase that expertise, showcase that competence. And if you can do that, then you will never be restricted by the number of jobs out there. If you look in our own network of alumni, companies that regularly contribute to our programs and hire our alumni and hire from our programs, we believe there are about 600 firms, that are actually looking for machine learning professionals in India. And those 600 actually split across. There are many startups, there are established tech companies, there are of course global marquee names such as Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, and there are also a lot of financial companies, and even some from other sectors that are actually looking for machine learning engineers and machine learning architects who can come and implement and scale up solutions using machine learning algorithms. And even in if you look at the industry, or even if you look at our own pool when they go into the industry, what we see is that it's split, as I was telling you earlier, it's split across various sectors, right? So of course, the tech companies are hiring for machine learning engineers and machine learning architects and data scientists in a very big way, but it is not as if that opportunity is restricted just to tech. There are consulting companies, there are finance companies, there are analytics companies, there are several startups, as I was telling you earlier, right, which are all looking for talent in machine learning. Often, I get this question in terms of what kind of jobs can one expect? What are the roles that are out there? And, what are the roles that one would be eligible for after doing a program like this or after learning machine learning? So one of the most common roles that exist are around or is around data scientist, right? So data scientist is essentially a combination of data science and machine learning techniques and implementation of these techniques. So for a lot of companies, data science roles primarily mean towards or increasingly are pointing towards machine learning. So those kind of roles open up. If you're senior, if you have a good amount of experience, then leadership roles in technology, or chief data officer, even architect roles. A lot of our alumni actually transition into architect roles, as we've seen. And if you're just starting out in the industry, then if you are, let's say, less than 5 years of experience, then roles such as data engineers, data analysts, machine learning engineers, right? These are all roles that are being hired for today as we speak, and that increasingly need you to have knowledge of machine learning. Let me also, try and simplify machine learning for you. I'm sure that many of you have, in fact, all of you would have heard of machine learning as a term, but what does this really mean? See, at the crux of machine learning is basically the ability to train an algorithm to perform certain actions, right? Thereby deriving certain insights, just like humans would have, right? So that is what machine learning at its crux is, at its core is. The two broad buckets that it kind of breaks down into is supervised learning and unsupervised learning. And a very easy way to kind of understand supervised and unsupervised is that supervised learning is essentially where you train an algorithm with a training data set, right? So you are giving inputs, but you at the same time you also know what the output should be. So over a large data set, which is known as a training data set, you're actually training that algorithm till its accuracy improves, right? And once the accuracy improves and goes beyond a certain threshold, from there on the algorithm starts functioning by its own. So that is a very, very 10,000 feet high level of supervised learning. So if you have to understand an example, let's say, if you are trying to train an algorithm around identifying colors, right? And you have cards of various colors, right? So on one side you have input and you know what the output should be, right? Because you are aware of which color exists on each card, right? So initially what you will do is you will train the algorithm, which means you will show it the color and then you will point to it, okay, this was a card with blue color, and similarly this was a card with pink color, and so on, right? So you will go through a large training data set till it reaches a point where you have to just show the card and you don't need to tell the algorithm which color is it. It self knows, starts predicting the color. All right, so that is what you essentially call as a classification problem. And similarly, regression is another category of supervised learning. The other broad bucket of machine learning is unsupervised learning. So this is where you are not training the algorithm with a key output data, but what you're doing is you are essentially giving input data, and the algorithm is supposed to interpret by grouping this data, right? It's very common, like a very common technique here is clustering that is used a lot. uh, for example, so let's say if you give the population data, or you feed population data of a city to an algorithm, right? It should by itself start creating clusters depending upon how many or all the males are clustered as one group, all the females are clustered as one group, all the infants are clustered as one group, all the senior citizens are clustered as one group, like that, right? So that is something that the algorithm is capable of doing. That's how it's been. That's a machine learning technique that you use there, the clustering technique that you use there. That's a clustering logic that you use there, right? So that is a simple example of unsupervised learning. So broadly, machine learning breaks down into these two areas. There is supervised learning, and then there is unsupervised learning. And within those, there are of course a lot of techniques that one needs to know, and more importantly, techniques not just from a theoretical standpoint, but techniques from an industry application standpoint. Like, how do you apply this to industry and solve problems? All right, so if that has gotten you curious, right? So then it's important for you to know that what kind of skill sets do you need to have, right, to be good in machine learning, or to build a career in machine learning. First and foremost is that you should be good in quants. Doesn't mean you have to be a mathematician or a maths Olympiadian, or you have to be a statistician. That's not the point. The point is that basic algebra and 10 to 12 maths is something that you will have to get back to, and that is where the foundation of machine learning is based, especially in linear algebra and so on. So that is something that you should be comfortable with. So if you come with a good background in quantitative ability, that always helps. The other bit is programming experience. So this is something that will really help you. So and essentially, if you are serious about a career in machine learning, then you have to get good at Python, right? So programming experience, if you have, or if you at least have programming knowledge, that you learned program and you're confident about picking it up, that is again something that will help you, because that's something you'll use extensively. The third aspect is an analytical thought process, because at the core of all problems that you solve, right, it will always be about solving business problems, or solving or applications of machine learning, which will all go into what kind of problems and challenges are getting solved using machine learning, right? So it is really important to have a logical and analytical thought process, so that you can think through a problem, you can structure a solution, and thereby start implementing an answer. Uh, the other aspect, which is extremely important, is that you should have a knack and a liking towards continuous learning, because these are fields that are evolving every quarter, every year, right? There are new applications and new advances that are being made. So irrespective of where you learn from and how deep you learn, you can never be in a position where you imagine you've learned everything. So you will have to continuously learn, right? And you will have to have the ability to interpret algorithms, to understand problem statements, to really create solutions. And in terms of skill sets, what the industry really looks for, and what is it that you should be expecting from the program that we run, or what is it that you should be looking to gain by joining the PGPL program at Great Lakes, are the following. First and foremost is statistical foundations or data science foundations, right? This, along with quant, is the bedrock of machine learning. This is the foundation. So this is where everything gets built from. Then, of course, a deep dive into machine learning techniques. The various techniques that are there. How are they used? When are they used? What are the pros and cons of each of those? right? And understanding its application to industry problems. So it doesn't do you any good if you just know clustering from a theoretical standpoint, right? Ultimately, you have to know when and how to use it, right? And that only comes with lots and lots of applications. So the more you practice, the more problems and the more data sets that you get your hands dirty with, the better you're going to get. And one tool, preferably in data science, and Python is the tool of choice when it comes to machine learning. All right, so that brings me to uh, to the end of our first half, right, which is all about careers in machine learning, like what to expect, what kind of skill sets to build, and what is really the industry outlook, right? What can you expect by doing a program like ours, and what are the kind of jobs that exist, and what does it really mean for you from a professional and personal standpoint? So the next half of this webinar is going to be all around, the postgraduate program in machine learning, which is co-delivered by Great Lakes and in partnership with Stuart School, uh, that is Illinois Institute of Technology. So here we will take a deeper look in understanding the program, right? What is the structure of the program? Who is the program for? A better walkthrough in terms of curriculum. What are you going to learn in the duration of the program? How do we ensure that you are industry ready and you get hands-on exposure, which is so valuable in the industry, and many more questions like these. All right, so first and foremost, let's talk about the overall, the boilerplate information, the overview of the program. So the postgraduate program in machine learning is an executive program, which means you don't have to quit your job to do the program. It happens through a combination of weekend sessions, weekend classroom, and online sessions. The duration of the program is 6 months, so you get the benefit of actually completing something in a short span of time, so that you can go back to the industry and you can even get your career transition and your returns much faster. So it's a 6-month executive postgraduate program, as I was saying earlier. In terms of your hands-on exposure, which is so very important, if you are to build a career in machine learning, there are various elements such as machine learning lab, several projects, several assignments, one key capstone project that you'll be doing, and also hackathons, right? All of these are designed and conducted with a worldview of helping you get more exposure to more problems and data sets so that you get better with time. The format is such that it's a mix of weekend classroom and online sessions. So there are about 120 hours that you would be learning through weekend classroom sessions where you would be interacting in person with faculty and industry guests and your peers. And beyond that, there is about 100 hours of online learning, which consists of assignments, of some recorded videos, self-learning material, assessments, and so on and so forth. The PGPML program currently happens across 5 cities. So we have learning centers established in Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Gurgaon, and Pune. These are all the cities where the program is being offered. And as I said earlier, it carries a dual certification with it, which means candidates get a certificate from Great Lakes Institute of Management as well as a completion certificate from Stuart School and IIT Chicago. So essentially, what that really means is that, because what we clearly see is once you go out to the industry, you should, of course, have that competence. Nobody's going to give you a job because you're, an alumni of any reputed school. But alma mater or pedigree is always a signal, right? And this is the reason why, candidates benefit, both in terms of the competencies that they gain, also from the fact that, they carry uh, the name of a very prestigious institution when it comes to India. It's Great Lakes, and also what they have learned also gets internationally recognized through Stuart School and IIT Chicago. All right. Another common question that comes to my mind. So the way I've structured the second part, I'm sorry, I forgot to give you guys that introduction, is that I've structured it as questions that I hear most frequently, right? And I'm sure that in many of these questions are your questions would also be included, and these answers would resonate with uh, you know the answers that you were looking to hear, right? So that's why rather than it being my worldview, this is more about questions that I have received over the years and answers to those. Right. So the next key question that I always get is, what makes the course unique, right? There are other machine learning programs that one can pursue for. So what is it that's really different about this program? So I think there are very identifiable and industry endorsed key differentiators that the program has, which is the reason why it's valued and respected in the industry. First and foremost is the learning format, right? So the fact is that because it has a component of classroom learning, we are able to control learning experiences a lot better, right? So if you were to take just a sample set of two candidates, one who's learned only from an online program, and one from us who's learned through a program like this, where there is so much of assistance and so much of focus on quality and experience, there is a world of difference in terms of what they have learned, right? So it is obviously undeniable in terms of the merits that you get by learning in a classroom, and that, when kind of married with the convenience of online, gives you more flexibility, right? But even when you look at the structure of the program, you would see that predominant number of hours are actually spent in classrooms here. Beyond that, the focus on being hands-on, right? So the extensive lab work and the assignments and projects that one gets forces candidates to practice and get better at this, which is one of the key reasons why they're able to succeed at their workplaces. The 2-month capstone project becomes an indicator and a showcasing opportunity for you to exhibit all the skill sets that you have gained in the 6 months of the program. And of course, there is a 24/7 machine learning lab that we've set up, which has a lot of practice assignments and data sets that'll help you just practicing and getting better every single day. The other aspect that really kind of differentiates is the curriculum depth and industry focus. So in terms of curriculum depth, if you compare the curriculum of the PGPML program with any machine learning program that any other machine learning program, you would see that the amount of depth that we are going into is unprecedented, just in machine learning. And that is important because and the reason why we're able to do that is because when we design the curriculum, we've designed the curriculum in conjunction with industry faculty. So this is not an introduction program, right? It is not an introductory program, right? This is a deep dive into machine learning. It is not going to give you a trailer and leave you at that. But this is a program where you are going to be handheld and taken through very immersive journey, such that when you come out of it, you are actually industry ready and you can start contributing to machine learning roles right away. And we're able to do that because of our efforts to collaborate with industry. They've helped us in create curriculum. They also lots of companies also help us in terms of faculty outreach. I mean, a lot of their experts come and teach in the program, and then of course helping us design several projects, hackathons, and assignments that you get. The third aspect, of course, is the flexibility. So you have classroom hours, 120 classroom hours, and these are planned well in advance, so that as a candidate, your entire 6-month calendar. We make it a point that the way this happens is such that you don't have to take a lot of time off work. So in 6 months, as the duration of the program, there are about 15 days of classroom sessions, of which 12 of them are on Saturdays and Sundays, and only 3 of them are on Fridays. So at worst, you may have to take 3 days off. That's about it. The ability to practice what you learn through our labs, which helps you get better. And of course, you're able to learn all of this in a much shorter duration of 6 months, thereby expediting your progression or your entry back into the industry. One of the interesting features that we launched about 6 months back, and that has has actually gotten um, a lot of traction from the industry is our machine learning portfolio. So when you are in the PGPML program, what would happen is essentially that you would be doing multiple projects, right? You would be doing about 4 mini projects, one caption project. You'd also be participating in 1 to 2 hackathons, right? And basis your performance in these, what we create is that we create a machine learning portfolio for you, which is a collection of all the hands-on work that you've done, verified by Great Lakes. And what we've seen is when candidates go out into the industry, it is this portfolio, this e-portfolio that can get shared via LinkedIn and so on. It is this e-portfolio that often becomes the conversation starter and the deal clincher, because this becomes beyond your resume. This is one document that will really give anybody confidence when they look through that. What you not just learned something from an academic standpoint, but you actually also applied some of these concepts, and you have a hands-on exposure on how machine learning is applied in the industry. Let's also look at the curriculum now, since that is one of the key differentiators, and the reason why so many candidates opt for this program. So broadly, there are 4 interconnected streams of learning in the PGPML program. The first stream is around foundations of data science and Python as a programming language. The second is supervised learning. Third is unsupervised learning. And finally, it is introduction to deep learning. And if you look at the breadth of the curriculum, you would see that it begins with data science foundations, where we cover Python, and we also cover basic statistics, hypothesis testing, probability. Since these are, as we discussed earlier, these are the foundations on which machine learning is based. Then you would start learning supervised learning, which covers linear regression, logistic regression, KNN, naive, and support vector machines. Then you would go into ensemble techniques, which is all about decision trees, random forest, bagging, and boosting. Um, Once supervised and ensemble techniques are covered, then you start unsupervised learning, which is clustering, k-means, hierarchical clustering, and PCA, which is principal component analysis. The second part of unsupervised learning is around featureization, model selection, and tuning, which goes into text analytics, model selection, feature extraction, and recommender systems. So by this point in time, you would have covered all of machine learning. And for each of these, in fact, every course that happens in this program, there are dedicated lab hours. So it is not just about learning something in class, but it will also be about dedicating time towards solving a problem while you're here, working with your peers and so on, right? So that again builds in a solid rigor when it comes to application and solving problems. The final module in PGPML is Introduction to Deep Learning, uh, which introduces you to concepts in neural network, gives you foundation in neural network, gives you basic understanding of TensorFlow with a problem walkthrough, introduction to CNN, and similarly introduction to Keras. And the reason why we kind of build it like this is that after machine learning, we could very well have stopped in machine learning, but after machine learning, we give an intro to deep learning, because an interconnected field is AI, right? But there is no AI without machine learning. So you can't really build a career in AI without being an expert in machine learning. And for all the jobs that exist today, it is machine learning which is the primary skill set. So as if you are an aspiring professional wanting to build careers, you first have to get really good at machine learning before you can imagine being good at AI. And the reason for us to include intro to deep learning in the curriculum is merely to give you an idea of what is the future, right? Where should you, or what should you be now learning once you have gained some exposure in the industry? So a lot of our candidates, start off with machine learning, get those career transitions, or get those roles, build a lot of expertise, and come back and learn AI with us as well. And that is always an option. So in addition to courses that have happen in the curriculum. Uh, there would also be, sorry, there would also be a lot of focus on the hands-on part, which is what machine learning lab sessions are, the mini projects are, the capstone project, and the hackathons are all about. In terms of tools, you would be extensively using Python and MLlib, and an introductory perspective on TensorFlow and Keras would also be given. Any high quality program cannot be delivered if the faculty are not of real world class quality, and that is something that participants in the PGPML program really vouch by, which is the quality of the faculty. These are some of the faculty who will be teaching in the program from Great Lakes. Dr. Narayana is the program director for the machine learning program, and all of them, as you can see, have very respectable credentials in terms of academics and industry. Dr. Vishwanathan is again a professor of data science at Great Lakes, and both Dr. Vishwanathan and Dr. Bapaditya have actually often been shortlisted as top data science faculty in India. And similarly, Dr. Basu is again a leading career academician in stats and data science, comes with several decades of experience. The reason why our curriculum really stays industry relevant, and why we're able to attract such high quality industry, is also because of our industry advisors. And some of our key industry advisors include very well known names such as Dr. Satya Netta, who is one of the machine learning leaders in the IBM Watson project globally. We also have Mayur Datar, who is the chief data scientist at Flipkart, as one of our industry advisors for the program, and of course, also Olas Nambiar, who was formerly heading machine learning and AI at Myntra. We invite a lot of industry professionals to come and deliver in our classroom sessions, specific courses. And again, we invite industry professionals or industry experts across a host and variety of companies, financial services, technology companies, data science companies such as Music and so on. And the common unique feedback that we get always is that this adds to the learning experience, because now participants are better able to understand the industry requirements, sessions actually lead on to career opportunities, because all of these folks, when they come and lecture in the classroom, one of the ulterior motives for them is basically to spot talent. So having known all of this, how can you decide whether this is the right program for you? Well, we have created certain rubrics on this. We know basis our past data, looking at data from alumni, who are the ones who are likely to do well in this program. So, in terms of who should pursue this course, first and foremost, if you are a technology professional, then you are a good fit for the program. If you want to progress to machine learning roles. Alternatively, if you're just starting in big data or data science role, but have no understanding of machine learning, because you know all of data science is actually moving towards machine learning, plus a lot of applications on big data is happening via machine learning. So it's only a matter of time. In fact, already the industry is moving in those directions. So if you are working on the big data engineering side or on the data science side, then machine learning is a natural, logical progression for you in terms of skills that you need to add. Lastly, you should pursue this course only and only if you are looking for a rigorous, meaningful program that is going to teach you by making you do a lot of stuff, right? So it is not a passive learning experience at all, one where you can just look at videos and hope that you learned. But this is an extremely immersive learning experience wherein you will learn through some of the best faculty in the country and the industry. Plus, you will also be required required to apply your learnings through different projects and different hands-on assignments. A corollary question to this is who should not pursue this course? Well, if you are not from a background in technology and you don't intend to be, then I don't think this is the right program for you, because machine learning, careers will need you to take a deep dive in technology, to essentially to do programming, right? You will have to write code in Python, and if those are not areas that you have any background on, or and neither you want to have that background, then this will be a tough course for you to navigate. If you're looking only for something that is at a 10,000 feet level, and you basically just want to speak the language without really completely committing to knowing or understanding it completely, then again, this program is going to be an overkill for you. The third part is if you're just looking to learn a tool such as Python, or some one or two techniques, and just get a quick way to get a certification, you will be disappointed, because the program actually has very rigid evaluation criteria, and that is one of the reasons why it is so respected in the industry, because there is a strong quality metric that is maintained with every batch that graduates. So essentially, no easy way out here. You should enroll in the program only and only when you know that you are ready to make that kind of effort and time commitment. Is there placement assistance in the program is a common question. So yes, we do have a career services module in the program, and we do a bunch of activities. First of all, we do conduct career development workshops wherein we get industry experts to advise and guide candidates on how to build careers in machine learning, what kind of roles, what kind of companies to target, how should they be pitching their profiles, and so on. We also maintain a very active job board in the program because of our large network and recognition in analytics and data science and machine learning space. There are a lot of companies that reach out to us with opportunities, with positions that they are looking to fill. And these are all opportunities that are shared with candidates, even with their alumni. And we see a lot of candidates, converting these opportunities. So that is something that is of immense value. Peer-to-peer networking. Finally, you are learning in a high-quality executive program where you're learning with a bunch of another 40, 50, top-notch professionals working in some of the best companies, the very same companies where you want to work, or which are looking to hire in big numbers in terms of machine learning skills. So we see a lot of intra-batch referrals happening, and candidates switching companies like that. We also see some of these industry professionals who come in and deliver parts of the program or spend their time in mentoring students actually ending up recruiting students. That again is because they get to experience talent firsthand, and when they see that this talent is capable and is well trained, they'd rather lap it up for their own organizations first. Over the years, these are some of the companies where our alumni work in data science and machine learning roles, and you can see that that list is just growing every quarter with new kinds of companies. It also talks about the kind of adoption that's happening in the industry. So it is no longer an area that is exclusive to technology companies. It of course began with technology companies, but today, if you look at it, there are technology companies, finance companies, big product companies. We also have cases of data scientists working in manufacturing, airline companies, consulting companies, and so on. Right? You can just see that's a complete mosaic of different kinds of companies and some very, very marquee names where our alumni are actually working as data scientists and in machine learning roles. We also recently started a new initiative wherein once you fill up the application form, we also give you a preview into the program. So uh, post filling up the application form, I think a lot of you here are have already applied to the program or have already gotten offers from the program. Uh, so you would very soon be getting a link which will help you experience content and also unlock some premium content for you, so that you can start learning immediately, right? You don't have to wait till the batches begin. And for those who have not applied, once you fill up the application form, this is something that will come your way. I just wanted to give you guys a quick preview of how that looks. So this is what it'll look like, once you sign in to a learning management system, once you have that invite link post application. And we have unlocked the introduction to machine learning course for you. So once you go into the course, you will see that there we have unlocked some modules. So there's a machine learning overview, basics of machine learning, and also a hands-on exercise. In fact, two hands-on exercises with machine learning that you can do along with some assistance. So that actually gives you a first-hand feel of what you are likely to learn. And as I said, the whole idea is that you don't have to wait till the program commences or till your batch commences. We've also added some more info here. So if you go on to the courses tab, you will see all the courses that you would be learning in this program. So there's introduction to machine learning, statistical learning, supervised learning, ensemble techniques, as I walked you through earlier, in the curriculum walkthrough. These are, of course, the other courses are unlocked and will open up once you enroll. There are also projects that we've listed, which our students have done, which will give you an idea of the quality of work that happens, and also what you will be able to kind of, showcase on your portfolio and your resume after doing the program. So this is one of the key projects that folks do, which is taxi demand prediction. This is using data from Uber. There's also project around stock market behavior. So there's a lot of projects that have been mentioned here. You can go through those. Some recommendation systems is something that a lot of our candidates do, which will also give you an idea of how well you will be able to apply these techniques. We've also given you a view in terms of how our alumni have experienced the program and what their thoughts are. Again, we're grateful to the hundreds of, in fact, few thousands of alumni who have graduated, in data science analytics and machine learning through us, and this is their experience, and you will be able to relate to some of these. There's also a preview in terms of job postings that exist, so you can kind of figure out these are the kind of jobs that we continuously refresh on our job board that I was talking about earlier. Again, lots of data scientist roles, some managerial leadership roles, some consulting roles, data engineer, data scientist. So again, these are all roles that will need you to know machine learning, uh, and then that's precisely why you should be learning this. As I was saying earlier, that this is one of the best times to add the skill set to your capabilities. Again, you can kind of go through that at your leisure. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of recent job postings that have happened. Right. So broadly, that is what I had to share, and I think now I'll be able to take questions. I believe there are questions that have come my way, so let's really dive into the questions. So I have a question from Kumar Mohanty. Does one need to have a master's to grow in this domain? So Kumar, as I showcased that statistic before, it is not as if it is a requirement, but because data science and machine learning are such exhaustive fields of study, ultimately what data itself proves is that most of the machine learning engineers, 50% plus of the machine learning engineers and data scientists actually would have gone through some postgraduate level of education to acquire these skill sets, because you cannot be superficial if you are serious about building a career in the industry. Gautam, I have a question from you. What type of opportunity is there for a BA? I think here BA you're referring to more in terms of business analyst, I believe. So business analyst is a lot around analytics knowledge and some machine learning knowledge also. So it really changes from company to company, but for BA roles, you really don't need to, understand machine learning in detail or its implementation. It is more about understanding analytics and its application to business, right? So starting roles, for example, post doing machine learning would be more around, machine learning engineer or data engineer, or machine learning specialist and so on, and not really a business analyst. Rakesh, you want to know when does the next batch begin? So our next batches commence in August and September across these cities. What I would suggest is please refer to the website, greatlearning.in. I think you must be able to see the URL and the admission office numbers on your screen. So so you can reach out to them and they will help you with all the details. But the next batches are in August and September timeframe. Ashwin, your question is around capstone project and hackathon. So hackathon is something that we do internally towards the end of the program, and that basically is a live challenge that you have to do in small teams, and of course, the winning team gets a substantial reward. The capstone project is again something that happens in the last 2 months of the program, and this is where all of your learning that you would have gained in machine learning comes together. uh, you know all the courses, all the projects that you've done till that point in time, capstone project is a project that is all encompassing, right? So all you're given is a problem and a data set, and you have to, right from building the hypothesis to understanding what techniques, what machine learning techniques to use to, building out that model to the model tuning part, right? All of that you have to do end to end. So I can see there are a lot of questions that are coming my way uh, in terms of admissions, right? Admission dates, when do next batch start, what are the eligibility requirements, so on and so forth. So I think for all of that, I would strongly suggest that please do visit the website. In fact, yeah. So you could write to these email IDs, or you could write to me. My email ID is also mentioned here. You could also call our helpline, or you could visit www.greatline.in. That also has information about the program. We'll also get the link sent out to you, for you to actually directly go there. I also have a bunch of questions where people are from chemical engineering background and mechanical engineering background, and they want to know if they can learn machine learning. So there is nothing that you cannot learn, but what you should know is that machine learning is currently more relevant for folks who want to stay on the technology track. So you could very well be a chemical engineer or a mechanical engineer, but if you've been working in IT roles or IT services roles, then of course you can and you should learn machine learning because that will protect your future. But however, if you have no exposure to technology at all, to IT at all, then learning this will be a stretch because right now you may not be able to capitalize on the opportunities that exist. I also have a few questions from students, I believe. So Bhavya, I believe you're a BTech student and you want to know if you can pursue this program. So Bhavya, this program is for working professionals because there is a minimum eligibility criteria of 3 years. Um, So this may not be the right program for you, but you can write into our admissions helpline and we can guide you on some program that covers machine learning, which could be relevant for you. Prabhakar, I have a question in terms of how I think you're looking at the interoperability between Hadoop and machine learning. So Hadoop is a big data framework, right? It's a big data engineering framework. It in essence has nothing to do with machine learning. But where the interdependence comes is that today a lot of data management happens via big data frameworks. But finally, working on those on that big data, you have to use machine learning techniques. So ultimately, application of machine learning, even if you are a big data engineer or you're a big data systems architect, right, you should know machine learning, because at the end of the day, it's you are going to be using machine learning on the large volumes of data that you're capturing. Gautam, I think your specific question is around the various mini projects that happen. I think again you can reach out to the admissions team, or you can check out our website. So on the website we listed out the mini projects. You can easily access that information there. Chetan, you have a question around what are the prerequisites before the program begins. So we will be sharing learning content with you, Chetan, before the batch commences, which will essentially be a refresher course, and will bring you up to speed. There are a bunch of questions around class strength. So our typical batch size is around 50. You could take 50 to 55. The reason why we restrict the batch size to that is primarily so that we are able to give individual attention to all candidates, and that's what you can expect. Sarabjit, your question is more around compensation or salary expectations, and as I've said that machine learning right now is one of the highest paying fields. So as long as you can prove yourself to be a professional who's well trained and somebody that the industry is convinced about, then you will not be constrained by jobs or by the salaries that they pay. All right, so I think that kind of covers most of the questions. There are a few questions that I think that I've not been able to get to, but these are something that I will ask the admissions team to please help you out with. This session is being recorded, so you would get the recorded link, and you can request the same as well. Once again, if there are any further queries, feel free to write to me. This is my email ID. You can also write into the admissions team, or you could write in, or you could call them as well, or you could drop in a message on our website. All of these modes work. Thank you so much for joining me on this webinar. It was fantastic interacting with all of you. Uh, Truly enjoyed the questions that came my way. I hope this was something that was useful for you as well. Thank you once again. All the best, and I look forward to meeting a lot of you in the future. Thanks.